Hello fantastic creatures, I'm Fantasims and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'll be attempting a stop motion video. Attempt being the operative word because this turned out to be quite a train wreck. Like me, this stop motion is going to be a bit of a hot mess. I forgot to record some of the transitions backwards because with stop motion you have to do everything backwards. So you might see my sim walking backwards because I had to reverse the footage in editing. And also it's a bit jumpy because I think my editing software zoomed in a bit for the images and then zoomed out a bit for the transitions, and I also didn't realize the sledgehammer animations when you delete stuff shows up in screenshots, but apparently they do. So you'll see some of those like explosive rings around objects and some of them turning yellow, and some objects shifted around whilst deleting them for the footage, which I didn't notice until editing. So basically we'll just have to use our imagination and pretend I did an amazing job. I followed the gorgeous Guiliabuilds tutorial on how to make a stop motion, but I almost feel kind of bad giving her a shout out in such a terrible video. But her tutorial is brilliant, so check it out if you want to try stop motions for yourself. I know I'm doing such a great job selling you on the idea of doing something like this. And don't worry, this will be the last time I torture you with a stop motion video because it took me like 3.5 days to build this and another 4.5 days to make the video. So I could have built two builds like this in the same time and just done quick tour videos for both of them instead. So why did I try making a stop motion video in the first place? Well, as some of you know, I have a lot of health issues and currently my intestines are internally bleeding pretty badly, and let's just say I'm in a lot of agony most of the time, and even though I sound perky in videos, I actually feel like death because I'm a trickster and I fooled you all. I'm just kidding. I've just gotten pretty good at temporarily putting how I feel to the side whilst I make videos. Like a mother hopped up on adrenaline while rescuing their child. I feel no pain, only pure power surging through my veins. Well, up until I stop recording and then I curl up in fetal position like a baby. So anyway, stress makes it worse, and with my ADD, recording myself building to later turn into a speed build really stresses me out for some reason because I can't think clearly when I know I'm being recorded. I feel like I'm being watched, like some creeper is standing in the corner piercing my soul with their sinister gaze. I know, I'm being overly dramatic. So moving forward, I made the executive decision to stop doing it because I'm an unpaid boss and I can do what I want. Now, I'll have some upcoming speed builds because I do have like over 50 unfinished builds that I already have speed build footage for, but for this build I had nothing recorded, so since it's a small build I thought I'd give stop motion a try because I thought it might be more interesting than just doing a build tour video. Well, a week later, here we are, lesson learned, and I mean, I did learn a lot about what not to do, but this whole process has been more stressful than a speed build, which kind of defeats the purpose of me doing it, so there you go. Now that I've wasted the first few minutes of this video whinging about how difficult the past week has been, let's dig into the actual build. So this caravan is like a magic garden caravan for like an elven traveler or some magical traveler who has been parked in the same spot for a while now, which is why it ends up later on looking so overgrown. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel, I use a building mod called toolmod by TwistedMexi, and I have the links to any mods I use in the description below. It basically lets you move objects in a way the game normally doesn't allow, but don't worry, it's not custom content and it won't flag your builds as custom content, so you can share your creations with others and they don't need the mod installed to place any build you make with it, which is really awesome. If it were considered custom content, I wouldn't use it because the whole point of my channel is to create stuff I can share with everyone. Anyway, the way I shaped the wheels and the kind of hubcap thingies that I made is not the hubcaps, what am I talking about? What are the things that go over the wheels? I can't think. Whatever those things are called. I use the exact same method I used in my gold rings tutorial, so you can check that out if you want to make wheels for your own builds too. And here I'm just showing how I created the outside, and I really wanted to use the new gorgeous doors from what's the Morocco kit pack we got? Courtyard Oasis kit. And as you see here, for some reason the spandrels were acting funky when I deleted the ceiling to do this stop motion, but once the ceiling gets put on, you'll see that those little spandrel pieces that are like hanging on the floor for some reason, they end up popping back up into position. So I don't know, sometimes spandrels have weird glitchy things that happen to them. And originally I had made the posts for that connect the wheels out of the the wands that I kind of use in the back, but I found that even though they were on the floor below, they interfered with objects up top, so I couldn't click on things, so I ended up removing them. But anyway, then I shaped these weird things, like these curved pieces hanging off to the sides, because I saw an image of like this fantasy caravan that I really liked, and it helped inspire this build. And I'm not posting it because the image is copywritten, but it kind of had this curved shape to it, and so I wanted to replicate that. And of course it looks super easy in stop motion, but basically I just curved the piece and then rotated, I think the top pieces, I can't remember if it was like 20 or 30 degrees, and then the bottom piece I rotated by 90 degrees. So it kind of creates, like, if you cut off the end piece, it looks kind of a diamond shape. I know my descriptive words are making it very clear what I'm doing. And most of you are probably like, what the heck are you talking about? So anyway, so once I'd shaped these pieces, this part was like the hardest part of the build. The rest of it was quite straightforward. Once I had these curved pieces shaped, then it was just a matter of adding a roof. And I didn't know what to do for the roofing, because I didn't want just the boring plain roof that comes with the game, because it was just too straight. I wanted to create a curved shape roof, so I mimicked the same kind of shape as I did for the two pieces I just showed you. And as you can see, the footage is glitching because I didn't sync up the transitions very well. But anyway, so I just pretty much repeated the exact same shape. I had copied and pasted it as a separate room, so it looks like I'm building each of these individually, but it's just the same exact curve on all of the pieces. And that was going to be the top trim for my roofing. And then underneath, I was trying to find some objects that could flow with this curve of the roof here. And so I ended up finding the debug sheds. I can't remember if it's base game or if it's from a pack like Island Living or something. So I ended up using that as my main roofing. I mean, I did put game roofing, as you can see here at the bottom, but then to mimic the curve that you see with that top trim, here we are with those little huts. And I kind of curved them a little bit by, I think it was like 10 to 20 degrees, something like that. And I mirror imaged it on both sides. And for some reason, I ended up making the front look a bit top heavy, so I later on add some objects to kind of balance it out. And then I jumped over to some of the interior parts, because I wanted to get that out of the way, because as you guys probably know if you've been following me on my other videos, the interior is the part I like the least. So after I do some gardening around this wagon, I ended up jumping onto the interior. And real quick, I wanted to put some like little sandbags at the front of the wheels that kind of help it stay parked. And then I ended up putting all of these shrubberies, because I wanted to use this ship wheel as the part that connects to some sort of magical beast or several beasts that help pull this wagon along the road. And in order to hide them, I just used a lot of plants. And then if you're wondering what those little mounds are, Arnie has a mod called World Edit mod, and in there he actually unlocked a bunch of debug objects. They're not custom content, but they are debug objects from the game that for some reason the game developers haven't released. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, but a while ago they added some more to the debug menu, like I think it might have been last year or the beginning of this year, I can't remember. So there are actually a ton of live edit objects that you can access through cheats in the game that they haven't even made available for some reason to the game, and Arnie in his World Edit mod has. So I have a bunch of them already up in my gallery, but there's still a ton more that I need to add as rooms, so I'll make sure to do that soon. And these lights, these hanging fairy lights, and also the mounds of like grass, they're actually landscaping from the worlds. I can't remember what world they're from, but I just sized them down real tiny, and so there's a bunch of these really cool debug objects that we can use thanks to Arnie's World Edit mod. And I think TwistedMexi said that in the future he's hoping to add them to his organized debug mod, so those will be available too. But I know that some of you play on console, so I'll make those available as rooms so that you don't have to have the mod in order to have them. So anyway, I'm done blabbing about that. So on the inside, I ended up double layering the doors. I couldn't double layer the door for the part where the sim actually comes in and out of the room, but for the like these fake windows, I just repeated the doors on the inside. But because of flickering, I think I made the doors like, I rescaled them to like 0.99, and then I added these little cabinet things from Snowy Escape just to hide some of the things that were poking through the floor, and to act as like some custom shelving or whatever. So in this little area is a little seating nook that you can sit in, and I wanted to make it look really bohemian and hippie, so it's just really eclectic, very bright hippie styled colors, and I wanted the wood to look really old, so I used the stains from Strangerville. I love those stains because I don't like how clean everything looks in The Sims. I love when things look worn and old. I guess because I mostly do fantasy styled builds, I want things to look weathered and old, so it's kind of hard to get that effect. And then I use the fairy lights to wrap around the bed as well, and I used gates. So I think those are the Strangerville gates, and I use them as like headboards and endboards for the bedding. I wish that we could change the bed linens and keep the wood swatches, so the blue of the bed didn't really tie in, but that's okay. And then we've got the skull Kevin. It's called Kevin for some reason in the game. Anyway, that skull can watch over you while you take a dump, and I put some objects in there like the Zen gardening thing, you know, like if you get bored while you're sitting on the loo, you can, you know, relax yourself with some Zen gardening. And as you see here, he'll be walking backwards because I didn't film the footage properly. But hey, it's a happy little accident, right? As Bob Ross always says. And then this little kitchen area, because of the doors I used as decoration, the footprint interfered with the kitchen counters and they wouldn't work. So the way that I got around it was by elevating it. And if you see over here on the left-hand side of this fake wall I made, for some reason, some of the decorations are like sunken, like they're not lined up properly. But don't worry, the final build actually does. For some reason, it dropped down when I was deleting stuff. I don't know. But anyway, I just made this little cluttered kitchen, and I didn't want to go too overboard with the interior design because it's such a tight space. I just wanted to keep it kind of simple, but I also wanted it to look still that vibrant colors of like that hippie style look, but also just simple and eclectic, so it ties in with the rest of it. And that was basically it for the inside, and then we're jumping back over to the outside, and again he's walking backwards up into the caravan. Hey, it's a magic caravan, anything can happen, right? That's what we'll say. And then because we don't have a lot of draped fabrics, I love the way this draped fabric looks on whatever this thing is from Journey to Batuu. So I used the fabric parts for the parts that are visible, and then I hid the rest of it with plants. And because it's supposed to be like this magic caravan, I wanted this overgrown plant feel. And this was probably the most fun part of the build, was just making it look ridiculously overgrown. And so I loved using all of the, I don't know whether this ivy is from Debug from Discovery University, I think it might be, or I don't know, I can't remember what pack it is. And then those tentacle vines from Get to Work that kind of glow in the dark in the evening. So I just cluttered the entire roof that way. And then, to help it not feel so topple heavy, I added those Get Famous barrels. And then I also, you'll see in a second, I add some of the debug rolls of hay. Although I didn't quite attach them to the thing, the caravan, so they're kind of just floating in the air. I kind of ran out of steam, and I didn't feel like creating some sort of harness to hold them up in, but just use your imagination like you have to for the rest of the build. And again, I'm using those sized down hilly mountains from the debug stuff that I'll make available as a separate room, because there's a whole bunch of them, so I'll make them as a room available for you guys. And then I wanted to create like this little artistic shed in the back. just to provide more activities. I like to try and put as many activities in a build as I possibly can. And as a side note, this build is finished, but it's not up in the gallery yet because I noticed a few things that need fixing when I made the video. So I have to fix those before I post it. So I'll either do it after uploading this video or tomorrow, depending on how I feel. Hey, you gotta work with the resources you have and do the best you can. So I've learned not to compare myself to other YouTubers or people who have more energy and better health than me, because it's just not helpful. Instead, I'm just happy to build and make videos when I can, and I enjoy how much fun I get to have building in The Sims and interacting with you guys when I can. It's kind of like how my family didn't have much money when I was a kid. So my creative mumsies would keep us thoroughly entertained making robots and forts out of loo roll and cardboard boxes, or we'd play around with ingredients found in the kitchen and the whole house actually, to mix together things like coffee, shampoo, flour, sugar, talcum powder, you know, all the normal culinary staples, whatever we could find, and pretend to be on a cooking show. I don't know if any of you guys did that when you were a kid too. However, once my older sister and I had crafted our masterpieces, we'd ask our mom to take a taste and she would refuse, which I find absolutely unacceptable. I'd slave away in the kitchen making my coffee shampoo cake for my mum and she wouldn't even eat it. She went on to spout some nonsense about it being poisonous, you know, the nerve. I'm just kidding. She was super loving and kind about how it was not edible but smelled delicious, you know, like a good mum would. So why are we even talking about this? Oh yes, because in life you have to learn to find fun with the resources you have, and currently my physical resources might be limited, but I'm so pumped that I still get to have fun with you guys. And even though I haven't had the chance to catch up and respond to all the amazing comments you left me on last week's news videos about the new pack we're getting, I just want you all to know that you guys mean the world to me, and I'm so honored you not only watch my nonsense, but you have the kindness to interact with me in the comments. So thank you very much. I shall hopefully be catching up with all those comments soon. You guys left a ton of comments. I've never had that many views on videos before, so yes, it was quite overwhelming, but in a good way. So anyway, back to the build. I wanted to make a trailer, but I didn't want it to just be decorative, so I ended up making it functional. So there's some gardening activities that you can do inside the trailer, and I really didn't know how to shape it, so I just thought, hey, let's just make it overgrown and fit with that whole overgrown magical gardening type thing. So it doesn't really have any walls, but it does have a ton of ivy and those butterfly wall decorations from, I don't know whether it's the Parenthood pack or the Toddler, but I think it's the Parenthood, I can't remember. Anyway, lots of glowing butterflies and fairy lights, and I wanted it to be kind of like a market stall where people can come, like fantasy sims can come and purchase their magical gardening ingredients. Man, I can speak. Anyway, so we'll jump to the inside, and here I just put a bunch of planting boxes and also the ones from Eco Lifestyle and a candle making station, you know, just for the fun of it. Although I didn't test out the candle making station because I didn't have the supplies I needed to make candles and I was too lazy to test it out. It should be fine. There doesn't seem to be anything interfering with the footprint, but you might, I don't know, you guys can test it out yourself. Oh, I hate doing interiors. Anyway. So I already filled the planters with plants, so at least I wasn't too lazy for that. And then over here I put in a woodworking station, and also I put some of those fake meat wall things. They're so gross, but I also think the animations for them are kind of fun. So as you can see, the footage is backwards again, so it looks like the knife is like sucking up all the powder, but we'll just say it's magic. Look at him, he's just so magical. But I at least wanted to show you kind of what it looks like with them inside, because you get a better perspective of the scale of it when there's a sim inside the build that you're decorating. Because sometimes when I'm building stuff, I make things so massive because I think the sims are a lot bigger than they actually are. So it helps to play test it while I'm building. That way I can see if I made it big enough or small enough or whatever. Now we're coming towards the end of this build, but up until this point it mostly just looked like a garden build. So I know that like the mushrooms and the vines kind of give it a bit of a magical feel, but it wasn't totally as magical as I wanted it to look. So I end up decorating the front with a lot more magical looking elements. And if you've seen my Living Gardens tutorial, then I pretty much use the same technique in this. And that is to use the outdoor retreat bugs. And you'll see me do this in a second once I've finished adding some gardening decor to the exterior of this trailer part of the wagon. As usual, my words are lacking. so I just added all of these overgrown plants, but then as you'll see here, I take the bugs from Outdoor Retreat and these ambrosia dog treats from Cats and Dogs, because they have this sparkly thing, and in the stop motion it makes it look like I placed these first, but I actually placed them last. The only reason I'm showing them how I did it first is because I had to use, there's something in toolmod that allows you to toggle select groups, and because I made the containers that these bugs are in invisible, I couldn't click on them, so that's why it looks like I did them first, but I actually did them last. And I used these ships from the ship wreckage, I think that's also from Cats and Dogs, and I flipped it upside down because those of you who know me, you know I love to rotate everything like upside down, sideways, just to see what objects look at the back and the bottom, because sometimes there's some really cool decorations that you miss out on if you just leave everything upright. And I just think it's amazing that the game developers and creators actually put effort into making the backs and undersides of objects have details. A lot of them go missed, but if you look for them, there's some really cool stuff. So anyway, I flipped them upside down because I thought it would make a really cool counter, and then I just hid all of the rocks that are like just floating in the air with objects, so it makes it look like it's this really rinky-dink scrap put together gardening stall. And I wanted it to look like that's where he's selling, or whatever magical sim you use, that's where they're selling all their magical plants. And with the special effects on them, I don't know, it just gives it, I just love when things have movement. It just makes it look so much more interesting. So I basically place the bugs around certain plants so that it looks like the plants themselves are really magical. So as you can see here, the little animations, oh, I just love it, with the little lightning bugs. Anyway, I did the same thing for the paranormal cow plant, that mini cow plant. I shrunk down the container to 0.001, and that's what I did with all the outdoor retreat bugs as well. I shrunk the containers down to 0.001. Now, his ankles are kind of hidden because of the mound, but it doesn't interfere with the footprint, so I still think it looks cool. Just pretend that you can still see his feet. And the same thing with from Seasons, that floral arrangement counter, whatever it's called. And then I did add a big cow plant, but for some reason when I was deleting stuff, it ended up getting deleted. So you'll see it here, but then all of a sudden it'll disappear again because it shrunk back down into like a baby cow plant, like when it's just a pile of dirt with some little cow horns sticking out. So you'll see it disappear right here. See? Gone. But don't worry, the final build will have a cow plant on it. And then I just made it look a bit run down at the front, but like a magical rundown version. And then what I create here next is kind of fun. It's a magical well. I did the same thing with the bugs, and then I created my own makeshift well by using, I think it might be from Outdoor Retreat as well. It was like a bucket of water, and these little ghosties, I don't know if they're called ghosties, I don't know what they're called. They really remind me of, have any of you played Super Mario on Nintendo 64? I grew up playing Nintendo 64. That's how old I am. And I used to play Super Mario after school every day. I loved it so much. And I forgot what they're called, but like the ghosts in the game, they look exactly like those little ghosties from the Paranormal Stuff pack. Anyway, I thought it would be fun to have some movement inside of the well, and so I put them inside there, and then put those, whatever these glowing blue things are from Get to Work, and the water towers from, I think, Strangerville, I can't remember, but I buried them in the ground with the tool mod, and then I created like a little awning to put over the top and just cluttered it with plants so that if you look inside the well you can see some movement, and I don't know, it just makes it seem like a magical wishing well. It's just decoration, you can't interact with it, but I thought it still looked kind of cool and added to that magical vibe. And then it was just a matter of adding a few more plants, and then the build was done. So I actually really liked not recording myself building initially because I was able to build this a lot faster than it usually takes me to build. So I'm probably going to do that in the future, but in the future I'm not going to be doing stop motions. We're just going to do a build tour because this was a bit of a nightmare, but I hope it was still entertaining enough that you can see the process I went through to build it. Anyway, I have a bunch of builds that I'm trying to finish up and I should have videos on them soon. I will also be reporting on the new trailers that should be coming out soon for the new game pack, and I just appreciate you guys so much. I hope you had fun with me today, and until next time, I freaking love you guys.